All right, so we are talking about our tech in our school. So my first question for you is what types of student devices are currently available on our campus and how are they distributed among grade levels?
We have Chromebooks, one-to-one Chromebooks so typically we assign all teachers a Chromebook cart, and then the students or the teachers issue those out to each student.
Sounds good. What is your overall vision for student learning at our school and how do you see technology supporting that vision?
Well, technology can be a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing. So um, ultimately, technology is, I don't know, how do you answer this question? What's my vision of technology?
Yeah, well, I mean, the goal of this program
Yeah.
is the education technology. So how are we implementing it? How are we
Okay.
maximizing its use for our students to create novel learning experiences?
Yeah, I think kids need to have digital citizenship. They need to learn digital citizenship at a younger age. So like you need to see that being developed at a much younger age. Kids need to know how to write online. They need to be able to utilize the normal because everything is digital.
Mhm.
We fill out applications now; they're digital. We fill out um, kids have a phone in their hand, so they have to know how to act appropriately. And so I think there's a component of us teaching that digital citizenship amongst them, but also the digital literacy with being able to utilize, navigate a website, navigate a form, an application as the kids grow up. So like there's purpose behind it. Um, but as in education, we got to teach them how to write though. They have to be able to use Microsoft Word or Google Docs to actually, transfer their knowledge onto a paper that actually makes sense. So it's teaching those skills, but I think you still have to rely heavy on the paper pencil version before you get there. Like you can't just have them automatically start utilizing that because they will go to something else. Like an AI is going to come into effect too, and that's going to be a whole nother picture for us. How do we manage that? How do we keep kids from utilizing AI when they start allowing it more and more? So I think it's still evolving as far as everything goes with technology. I mean, obviously, my vision is again math. We shouldn't be using. We shouldn't be using, um, computers and stuff like they're not understanding the basic skills of mathematics. We still have to teach them to use algorithms to understand the understanding of math and the conceptual understanding. We still need to do that, and it's not through a computer. I mean, you're not going to have math literacy if kids utilize computers for that.
Sure.
So I think it's management of how much you use it, and what's the purpose behind using that technology device. So if you're utilizing it for an assessment, then you utilize it for an assessment, but it shouldn't be an everyday tool. It should be used when you need to use it for whatever that you're doing. If it's an assessment, or if it's a research project, or if it's something of that nature that you have to utilize it, or creating a presentation. But really, I think it's the word processing is the biggest piece for the kids. That's what they need to learn is how to use the programs that are within it to benefit their education, not as their education.
Sounds good. That makes sense. Yeah, use it for, not as.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges or limitations we currently face here at Sunset Hills when it comes to student tech use?
I think the biggest challenge is the management of the device itself. It's like when you open up, kids have so much access to the device and everything that's within the device, whether it be different websites, whether it be Google searches, whether it be that we don't have any way to manage that unless we're sitting over their shoulder and watching it. And so I think it's the management issue is the biggest issue that we have with them.
Are there any specific digital tools, platforms, or programs you hope to implement or expand on?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to help with that management. I wouldn't mind if I had all the money in the world. I would have programs that lock down the computers so that teachers have access to exactly what they can see. They can see what's on the student screen at all times. I I mean, that it's a money factor. Obviously, if you have the money to pay for that kind of stuff, then you can buy those programs that lock down the computers, and teachers have access to see exactly what kids are seeing from their own devices. I mean, there's other programs out there too that are like hall pass programs where kids, it helps manage the school better. I wouldn't mind implementing some of those components too, as far as if kids need to use the bathroom, then they sign out through the computer since they have one. You go onto the application, and then we know exactly who's in our hallways, who's at the bathroom, we know exactly where they're at. So there's a lot of safety components that are involved in it. I wouldn't mind implementing, but again, it's all money based. So if you don't have the money to do it, then it's not really worth. Well, you can't do it.
So how do you prioritize tech with budgeting then?
Right now, it's just about whether or not you prioritize it with having the device itself. You know, so like, do we have enough money to make the repairs? Do we have enough money to make sure that every kid has one? Because that is the expectation in the district, is that we maintain a 1:1 device to student ratio. So that's the biggest piece.
How do you support teachers in learning how to integrate devices effectively into instruction?
I just say go.
So I'm hearing freedom
yeah.
to do what we need in our classroom.
Yeah, right. You know, I think it's about educating them on the actual applications that we have that are available to them as resources. So whether if they need Discovery Ed training, let's get them trained in Discovery Ed. If they need to get into the HMH platforms, let's get them into the platforms and teach them how to utilize the platforms. Teaching them how to access Google and access all the applications that are within those components. Sometimes they need that extra piece of, especially if you're an older generation teacher or a newer generation teacher. Oftentimes the newer generation teachers already have the tech skills. They've been using them. But the older generations don't have them, so you have to go back and you have to teach the basics. And so again, I think that goes back onto your instructional coach of providing those professional development opportunities for them to actually continue with that learning process, offering other opportunities, utilizing your teachers that are veterans with technology and having them train the rest of the staff on, like I think we did a professional development on IXL, which again is another learning platform, but a lot of people didn't know that all the little, components of it. So you provide that overall, that viewpoint of, hey, this is how we do the jam, this is how we do the IXL jam, and now we have more teachers using IXL jam, which is effective, but you have to provide some type of training to get teachers activated and actually using it.
Sounds good. How can student voice be a part of shaping the future use of devices on our campus?
Students' voice. Well, they can be advocates. They can. Oftentimes, they're very innovative as well, so they could come up with possible solutions to different types of programs. They could come up with different types of applications that maybe apply to the education pieces. But as far as, they might bring a new idea. I don't know how they would actually shape it.
Okay.
Beyond the fact that, if they find something that works out there that helps out and supports. I think that's just good when you're facilitating learning in the classroom with your students. The students could easily point out, hey, have you used Kahoot before? I used it in another classroom. Or they might have their own experiences with technology that they've seen in other educational classrooms that they could share with the teacher, and most likely it's probably a good resource. So
They do have a lot of know-how.
They have a lot of know-how.
And a lot of opinions.
Students have a lot of know-how, a lot of opinions.
Awesome. All right, final question. What would our ideal technology setup look like in our school in 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years. We got all the stuff we really need. I wouldn't mind seeing like a more of a closed network on the access to what students really truly have. So almost if you take like your iPhone and you truly limit the access to what students need versus what they can access would be ideal. I mean, so again, I think you're going down a route of kids don't need to have access to everything on Google. They don't need to have access to all the applications out there in the world in school. They should have access to educational. So if you think about our Clever platform, like if we were to truly have a good program, we would have, that's all the students would open up their computers, and that's all they would be able to access is Clever. And within Clever, there might be applications of a search engine that they can search something, but it's only gonna be stuff that's appropriate. So they wouldn't have access to any types of games that are, or black sites that they can get to by going through our different firewalls, you know, and breaking protocol. But I mean, it should be something like, that would be ideal in the world of, I think would be ideal is that they only access what we need them to access. And how do we control that? We'd have to control that with some type of programming. But I have no idea how to get there, because I don't have the money to do it. So maybe in 5 years they'll have money for that,
Sounds good.
right?
That would be cool if we could have like, maybe more work for teachers, but like, we all pre-find our sources anyways.
Mhm.
So like, already have them in there and that same thing, like, let them go to this URL and that's it.
Yeah, like you open up, you log in, we log into the computer,
Mhm.
and we have to access Clever.
Mhm.
Why is not Clever just immediately pop open
Mhm.
and say, these are your applications you can use? You go back to like an iPad, for example. An iPad's a good example of this. So like if on an iPad, you only have apps to be able to access things.
Mhm.
So you can take away Siri, you can take away your internet browser, so they can't even get on the browser. And the only way that they can access something is like if I needed to go into an app like Google Docs, I'd have to go into Google Docs, and that's the app I click on. You know, if I need to go into Kahoot, I'd go into Kahoot and click on Kahoot. If I need to go into the assessment, I'd go into the assessment through the assessment tab. So again, the only way to access those points are through that. Everything else is blocked, so you don't have access to anything else.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, if I was a tech person, I would create it, but I'm not. So, and you know,
That's
those are.
something to look into.
I mean, I think it's a revolving door. Obviously, we've gone so far in technology. If you go back to where we came from, smart boards to you know, different types of programs. We had little clickers that we would answer. Through the smart board, everybody had a clicker. You can, you know, A, B, C, D. You had, and that was, you know, that's the basics of your technology. And technically, that's all the kids need these days. But now they all have devices in their hands, and then, or a computer in their hand. I think they're accessing too much technology. And now they're finding ways to ruin our technology. So all sorts of fun stuff.
It's a good time. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was a lot.